Hello, everybody. It's Gill-boy here. I hope you're ready to chill out with me at the Lagoon as we discuss Alien Romulus. Now, Alien Romulus, we'll just go ahead and say this. It's definitely probably going to be a divisive film within the Alien franchise, as is most Alien films. Now, Alien is personally my favorite franchise. So I was incredibly excited for this film, and to make a very long review video short, I'll just go ahead and say that I absolutely love this film. It's definitely the third best Alien film within the franchise. Now, in saying that, I can see how some people are just going to hate this film. They're going to despise it. You know, they're going to get mad if you say you liked it and enjoyed it. Whatever. That's pretty on par for the Alien fandom as a whole. It is pretty much a very divided fan base. You know, you got your Alien fans over here, and you got your Aliens fan over there. And most of those universally agree that the first two films are the best in the franchise. You do have some that just like Alien, you know, and don't really like Aliens, and that's fine. You have some that really just like Aliens and don't like Alien, which is also fine. You've also got people like myself who like all of the Alien movies. Now, in saying that, obviously, Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection have their problems, but you could also argue that so does Aliens and Alien. Now, I will be doing a full video review for all of the Alien movies in the future, but we're going to focus on Alien Romulus. So, this will be a spoiler review. So, if you want a non-spoiler review before we get into the spoiler review, I'll just give it to you now. And I will explain my ratings as we delve into the spoiler area of the video. But to give my non-spoiler review out of the way, I would say I give it a very low 8 out of 10, if not a strong 7 out of 10. For several reasons. I would like to give this film a higher rating, but I'm afraid there is some reused dialogue from the first from the first two films, and I'm not necessarily opposed to reused dialogue as long as it's proper and within the right space, okay? This film has, I don't want to say remember berries, but it's like, remember when they said this in the show? Remember in Aliens? Remember in Alien? And so that automatically knocks out 1 point on any movie I review. So I'll explain that. I won't say which lines are reused, but I'm pretty sure most of you can guess which ones because they are some of the more iconic lines in the franchise. And I would have preferred for this film to be its own thing. Also, we heard a lot of things about like practical effects in this film. And that's true. There are a lot of practical effects, and the film is very gorgeous. It's a beautiful film. There's some nods to 2001: Space Odyssey, and just it's mesmerizing. Like, you really feel like you're in the Alien universe. And I saw this film in IMAX, so it was awesome, you know. But in saying that, I will say there's one scene. Without getting into spoiler territory, there's one scene with the character and the CGI, otherwise, this might spoil it, deep fake on that person totally broke immersion for me. You know, I was so down, and we got to that point, and I was like, ooh. Yeah, I remember when I was 13 years old, and I waited till my parents went to bed, and then, you know, I got out of my bed and acted like I was asleep and went out and turned on the Sci-Fi Channel late at night. hoping to see some like, really cool stuff, and then, ooh, look at those graphics. It's kind of the same thing in this scene. And either one or two things can happen. You can allow it to ruin the film for you, or you can just go, you know what? I like where this is going storyline-wise. I'm going to suspend disbelief and enjoy myself. And that's what I chose to do. But then it keeps cutting back to this character, and he becomes a central part of the story, which on paper, like script-wise or comic book-wise or novel-wise, or maybe in 25 years when we actually have the technologies to deepfake, would be awesome, right? But it really took me out of the film, and that's just kind of like a nitpicky part. And I have heard some say, like, oh, there's not that many aliens in it. Well, okay, first of all, this is definitely more of a face-hugger film, and you do see the life cycle of the Xeno. Now, maybe what they're saying is you don't see enough of the actual, the big chap, the actual final stage of the creature. And to that, you do, but I can understand, you want aliens. And, that's always kind of been the divisive part in the fandom is, some want more, they just want the alien. Others want, all the aliens. They want to see the Hive, the Queen, and they want to see all this. And then others are like, well, I kind of like, the space jockey, the engineers, and all that. And you got your prequel fans and all of that. But to kind of summarize the non-spoiler, this takes everything that was cool in all the Alien movies, even Prometheus and Alien Covenant. And I know some of you might go, oh, no. But yeah, it takes the best part of that with Alien through Resurrection and puts it all in a movie. It's basically a love letter to the fans. There's a lot of nerd stuff in this. Also, for those who chilled with me at the Lagoon and played Alien Isolation, you all will probably be like, whoa, this was just like Gill-boy's stream with the video game. There's a lot of Alien Isolation in this. It does take place after that game, and it's cool to see some of the nods to that video game. So to finish up my non-spoiler review, low 8 out of 10. B minus. Go check it out. You'll have a good time. Or you won't, and you'll come back and be like, Gill-boy, I have to watch Alien and Aliens to purify myself. And to that I say Godspeed, and do that, because those films are masterpieces. Now, let's talk spoilers and get into my spoiler review of Alien Romulus. All right, so Alien Romulus, 8 out of 10 for me. I knew most of the spoilers of this film before I went in, primarily because I was really disappointed in Covenant. I like the novelization of Covenant better because of, what they chose to do with the Xenomorph's origins. Now, that being said, they kind of, I don't want to say retcon, but they kind of make it to where what my issues with Covenant weren't necessarily so per se. And they expand the lore in this film, which I loved. And I know some may not, but I will, we'll talk about that here in a moment. But you basically start off on this planet, this mining planet that Weyland-Yutani is, overseeing. And you basically get to see space communism, corporate fascism. It's very Blade Runner-esque, all practical sets, very claustrophobic, like you feel like you're on this other world. And what's so cool is that this planet doesn't have sunlight, so it's just eternal darkness, so it's like totally emo, goth, metal. I would hate to live there. It'd probably be pretty depressing. You could just see all the homeless people on the sides, prostitution. It's basically just, they're all slaves, right? And you got Rain's character and Andy, and they're basically like brothers and sisters, but Andy is a synthetic. And he is one of the earlier synths that Weyland-Yutani have done, so he's kind of, not as higher tone as like maybe the Ash model or what would become, the David 8s and the Walters, and then eventually the Bishop models. So that was really cool to kind of see kind of one of the earlier kind of prototypes that the main character's father reprogrammed to have his prime directive to be to protect her. And, basically this space station, the Romulus space station, comes into this solar system's orbit around this planet. And these kids are like, well, we need to get off this planet. I don't want to be a mine and mining the coals all day, Pop. And so they figure out, like, well, we could get on this ship and get on there and get the cryo sleep and get out of this galaxy and have our freedom, Screw Alien Yutani, we don't want to build better worlds, per se. And the main character's basically been working, so she's close to getting her freedom, and she goes to be like, yo, I've done this, can I have my freedom? They're like, nah, my bad, sorry. Actually, you got double hours now? Get back to work, slave. It's really scary, and I could see companies in the future, if they had that ability, would totally do that to people. But anyways, we're not going to get into that conversation. We're going to talk Alien. So eventually, Gen Z kids go into space. They go on a, secret space station from Romulus. And, the film opens with Weyland Yutani getting Big Chap from the first film. Ripley blew it out of the airlock, and it's able to secrete, how they do the hive. So it's able to secrete itself and protect it itself. And they capture it and bring it back to this space station to do experiments on it. And as I'm sure you're aware, that went very well. And he totally didn't escape and kill everybody on the station. And unfortunately, I would have loved to have seen that movie where Big Chap comes back and slaughters a whole space station, and you get to see, mad scientists in space go wrong kind of thing. You still get that in this film, but when they finally get on this space station, it's very Alien Isolation. In fact, there's even the puzzles where you have to click stuff and pull the levers and the vents, and you crawl in, and they even have the little headset that you wear in the game, and they make a comment about it, oh, you look like a wanker tosser, whatever. And he's like, no, man, I'm badass, bro. It's kind of cool. They come across the save stations in Isolation, which I thought was awesome. And if you have a keen eyes, us Gill-boys do, you can see some of the beer cans and the soda cans and some of those objects that were in Alien Isolation that we all enjoyed Gill-boy streaming. You can see that in the film, and that is so cool because this really does feel like Alien Isolation, the movie. They've done a really good job to make it feel like the universe in the first Alien film and what Isolation itself did. And then you get to see some of the stuff that we will eventually see in Aliens, like the prototype pulse rifle guns, some of the vehicles, and some of the early kind of technology that you see in that film. So that was really cool. Now, let's get into the part that... let's discuss the whole cool Romulus part. So as they're going into the space station, they have a cool mural of the whole, mythology of Romulus and Remus. And I've seen some people be like, oh, I don't get it. What do? Okay, well, let's dissect this. Basically, Weyland Yutani is like a secret society, right? It's all into the occult. That's why they have certain symbols. Like in the first Alien, you got all the Egyptian motif of Isis and Ra, and all the consciousness elevation, the rebirth, rebringing back the gods, all those kind of symbols, so that's what we're dealing with here. Romulus and Remus were raised by wolves, so this other species came and nourished humanity, and they birthed civilization, and then Romulus and Remus betray each other, stuff like that. So if you're familiar with Roman mythologies, you can see the parallels they're doing with, the space jockeys, the ancient aliens, the engineers, the xenomorphs, kind of at the Mountains of Madness in space, from H.P. Lovecraft, the elder things and the Shoggoths and their creating humanity by mistake or for jest or for the lulz, Those themes are prevalent in this too, but more so in the background because, we want to see aliens. So they go in, and they don't have the clearance, and it's clear there's face huggers and stuff. And they found this down synthetic, and he's kind of covered in shadows. But if you're a nerd like me, you see his shirt, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's an Ash model. Comes to find out, oh my god, it's an Ash model, but it's a deep fake. And we're in Sci-Fi TV channel. And it totally brought me out of the film. But I was like, I knew this was coming. I was afraid this was going to be it. Technology's not quite there yet. Should have done what you did in Alien 3. Okay? And what'd you do in Alien 3, 20th Century Fox / Disney now? You built a model, a synthetic prop, an animatronic of the Bishop droid. And it holds up today. You go watch Alien 3. Go. If you don't want to watch it, I understand. But watch that scene where Ripley gets the Bishop model and plugs him up, and he's like, oh yes, the company knows all things, you know. That graphics look better than what we saw now. And in 10 years, this scene will be laughable unless they can somehow edit it and make it more refined. But come to find out that this is an Ash model, but his name's Rook. And I kind of got the idea that Rook and Ash were brothers, kind of like Romulus and Remus. And so there's the cool kind of like parallel with that. And, you know, they name drop like, oh, the Prometheus file, and they bring back the black goo. And I know some of you may be like, oh, God, no. I like Prometheus. I think it's cool. I wish that we would have gotten actual Prometheus 2, 3, and 4. Kind of like how Aliens fans wish they got Aliens 2, 3, and 4 as well. Wish we kind of got all those, to be honest with you. But they managed to take it and, you know, kind of ask more questions about it. Like, is it true? Is this black goo truly the blood of this Lovecraftian god that we haven't seen yet, that's able to make this parasitic form, or is it the solution to all life? So there's kind of cool little like lore bits that kind of answer questions and then make it have more questions. And we see that the company's true motives is to indeed build better worlds, but to kind of like the concept solve coagulate, you know, to destroy, to bring order out of chaos, to remake humanity, to bring about the engineer's ancient plan. Synthetics run the company, you know, it's like a David cult. They worship David and what he's done and all this stuff. And I know some may be like, well, in Aliens, this says they just wanted it for a weapon. Well, yes, duh, but take into account all the symbols on the ships, all the occult stuff, all of this like weird like gods, humans, creation, evolution, all these underlying themes. So of course the company was going to be kind of more like the Illuminati. They want to destroy humanity. They want to remake them into the image of the gods or whatever these were, to perfect it. And, you know, they have that creepy line that's straight out of Call of Cthulhu, you know, humanity is insignificant in the light of the cosmos, you know. So mad scientist in space experimenting with some kind of cosmic goo that brings about all life. It's probably the origin of some other terrifying monster that we'll hopefully see if this movie does well. Now, once you get all that, Andy, the synth, gets, you know, a clearance check, and he kind of becomes a different character, which is awesome. His portrayal in this film is phenomenal. You get him kind of like a quirky kind of lower end model that then gets this update, and he's like, now we must do whatever the company declares we will do. We will do it, and we will do a good job. We will bring order to the galaxy. We will build better worlds. Yeah. You know, it's creepy. It's like the loss of your friend. It's like when one of your friends sells out and then starts like talking company rhetoric after they were like, "Oh, this company's BS." That happens. So it's cool. I like some of the themes that they do with this film. And you finally get to the aliens with all the face huggers, and man, I have arachnophobia, and I tell you what, that was uncomfortable, but it was so awesome. I love that face huggers got a little more screen time in this film than they have in the other ones, and the practical effects were phenomenal. And it was just great to see them jumping and trying to get on to people and latching themselves on. It was so grotesque. You know, the gore and the body horror in this is awesome. So if you love that kind of like, The Fly and Basket Case and the Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead stuff, Day of the Dead, you like all that body horror, From Beyond, Dagon, stuff like that, you'll love this. I mean, the gore effects are beautiful, and the creature designs are beautiful, and you finally get to see a xenomorph in its cocoon. Geiger would be so proud because it's so sexual and disturbing and looks, vaginal, and it's got all this goo and this, it's just so disgusting to look at. Like, you just don't want these aliens to, whatever these things are, to touch you, it's just so nasty. And, the movie progresses, and then lo and behold, you see a hive, and, I personally think I heard a queen screech. I know some may say no, but I feel like I heard her call out. There's a part where they get in the hive, and one alien draws them to it. Could have been a queen, maybe not. Not sure. But I love that scene. I thought it was cool. You get a little cool zero gravity scene where they're shooting the Xenos and the acid's floating, and then the zero G ends and it falls and blows up the station and all that. There's a lot of really cool stuff. And I did genuinely like all the characters, but I will have to say I didn't really care about them as much as I did, the crew of the Nostromo or the Colonial Marines, But I do think Andy and Rain, and I apologize, I've only seen the film once, the girl that was pregnant, her character, unless that's Rain, and I'm totally messing up the character's name, so I apologize if I have. Either way, those characters, they were kind of, they were okay. And with the whole baby pregnant thing that they go with, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And, she gets damaged, the pregnant girl. And so they inject her with this mad scientist serum that you would totally trust, this company with. That they're like, oh, yeah, we're curing cancer. Just put it in your body, don't worry about it. And they do, and lo and behold, I know this is going to shock everybody, it's the pathogen from Prometheus. And what does that do? It rewrites your genetic code and turns you into an abomination. Well, she's pregnant, right? So we all know what happens when you eat something in your pregnant mom, right? It all goes to the baby. Well, guess what? All the pathogen goes to the baby. Woo! And we get a really brutal birthing scene. I'm not even a woman, and my God, I did not even want to look at that scene. It's pretty rough. And you get this engineer, xenomorph, human hybrid abomination that is pure nightmare fuel. And as a fan of the engineers, I'm so down. And to see this thing be all nasty and scary and chasing people, I loved it. Now, the only criticism that I have on all of this is I wish the alien would have won. Okay? I wish this new baby morph, whatever it's going to be called by the fandom, I wish it would have killed her. And then I would have been fine with, well, the ship, it wasn't on auto mode and so it fell, and I would have preferred to have seen the alien win and then it get destroyed because of how it was falling into that little asteroid belt thing around the planet. That would have been so awesome. That's not what happens. Of course, she saves the day, and it's a really self-contained film where it's its own story, but if they really wanted to, they could bring her back, and maybe she finds another space station where they find the queen, because they're establishing that if an alien is blown out of the airlock, like it's done in almost every Alien film except for Alien 3 and Prometheus, where things are blown out of the airlock, it's like, can we come up with something different, please? But I guess not. That's just maybe a little nitpick on my end. So if you wanna criticize Alien 3, that's great, but at least you could say they kill the alien differently, because my goodness, how many times are we going to see an alien get blown out of the airlock, and it's just kind of like there's another way you could tell an alien story without it ending the same, okay? So that's kind of knocked another point off for me, because I was when this was first starting, I was like, oh, this is going to be 10 out of 10. People are going to just think I give 10 out of 10s for all my reviews, but the regurgitated lines, the bad graphics on the deep fake, and then just the whole, like, okay, we're blowing it out of the airlock again. Granted, it's slightly different, but it's still the same, okay? It's still the same. Just have the alien kill him. Who cares? Nobody's going to remember these characters. We want to see aliens kill people, whatever. If you liked how it ended, that's fine. It's just me nitpicking. And you're here to hear what I have to say anyway. So, to conclude this kind of review and to summarize things, I have to say I had a lot of fun watching it. Alien, the first film, was the first film I ever saw as a baby Gill-boy here at the Lagoon. So I have a lot of love for this series. There's a lot of references to some of the things in the comics as well. And just, whoever wrote this and directed it, Alvarez, you're a nerd, man. I would like to see you make another one. And I hope that this film does become successful, because I would love more alien movies. I think the best way to go about this franchise from this film on is we need to just create a different character. If you want to reuse Rain, that's fine, but we need to stay with one character and see what they discovered the company's doing and what the xenomorphs are. And the thing about cosmic horror is you still want that mystery, because that's where the horror comes from. But the implied rhetoric that this film now has with the lore expansion, that Weyland-Yutani truly does want to build better worlds by remaking them as the engineers wanted to make with the xenomorph, which is why they allow this thing to take over space stations and colonies, because they want to destroy humanity. They're a death cult. It's kind of awesome. I always kind of suspected that, and to see that this fan theory was proven canon, I loved. I know some may not like that, but I mean, it's pretty much kind of been implied since the first Alien film, and was definitely implied with Prometheus and Covenant. And I know some were like, well, those are its own things, we don't view them as canon. Well, they are canon. And if you don't like that, I understand, but they are. And that's the canon that this film goes with. And seeing that the engineer with this abomination at the end, so that implies that maybe the engineers were created by something else, or did the engineers just splice themselves with whatever this goo is and makes themselves, a part of it, So there's a lot of questions now that can be asked, even more about the goo and its origins. I know the original idea in the first Prometheus script was that it was the blood of the Alpha and Omega xenomorph, the god xenomorph, and hopefully we'll see that. That would be awesome. Well, maybe not though. We'll have to see. But all the questions that it poses in the lore, and seeing how the company knows all about this, just makes Aliens, to me, it makes Aliens more disturbing and more messed up. And I know some will be like, well, if that's the case, how come they didn't reference this? Well, let's look at this. Do you really think a company that knows the origins of life itself and knows about all these godlike cosmic entities are going to tell their underlings about that? No, that's not even how real cults work. Only a handful of the top members actually know what's going on, what they really worship, what they're really about, and then they have the lowerings do it. I mean, just look at the Disney Corporation, for example. Walt Disney himself created a company, right? And he had it have its own ideas and what it was going to do in the world. And then he's gone, right? And now other people take it over, right? And then what do they do with his company? They turn it into what they believe it to be. So it makes sense why, as the Weyland-Yutani Corporation proceeds throughout the Alien canon, maybe some of their motives might be different, but we know that there's a handful within the corporation that know what they're really doing. So to me, I didn't feel like this movie broke canon. I can totally understand why people don't like it. I really do think that this is just going to be one of those movies where you absolutely just love it, or you think it's the worst movie ever made. Now, as the box office projections, I think it's already made $100 million, and it only cost $80 million for this to be made, so it's already returning a profit, and it's only Saturday. I'm going to go see it again Sunday because I really just enjoyed it, and I love this universe. I love it, and that final third act with that, it was so scary, man. I don't like creepy baby monsters and tall Nephilim looking stuff, man. It's creepy. But anyways, let me know what you all thought. If you thought it was garbage, you're just like, Gill-boy, we're not listening to your reviews anymore. That's fair. Please stop by for the video game streams, though. But I loved Alien Romulus. 8 out of 10. Love to give it higher, but unfortunately, there's problems with it. And in saying that, it's definitely the best third Alien film ever made. And I just liked having fun at the movies again. I liked it. It was just a good time. It was just a bunch of gruesome violence in space. I know Ridley Scott watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, before they really worked on the first Alien film, and that's more the consensus of what they tried to do was, let's do Texas Chainsaw Massacre in space, right? Well, this is definitely in that same vein, and this is where, the Alien franchise, in my opinion, needs to be, because that's what it was when it first came out. It was a horror film. It was a cosmic horror film. And then you get Aliens, and that's more of an action horror film. Then you get Alien 3, and it's kind of more of like a thriller, slow burn, nihilistic horror, alien resurrection, mad scientists in space, playing with, Frankenstein, cloning, all that kind of stuff. Very disturbing mama scene, which they reuse in Romulus. So like I said, they take the best part from Alien 3 Resurrection, put it in this. If I would have to criticize the film one more time before I get off, I guess you could say it should have been its own thing. You don't necessarily need to remake the ending of Resurrection for this. You don't need to say, get away from her, you bitch. You don't need to say, I admire its purity. I can't lie to you about your chances. You don't need to reuse those lines. You had a good script. You had the ability to really give us something new, which you did, but you kind of muddied it with some things that shouldn't have been. Maybe there will be a director's cut, because it does feel, at least to me, the movie was very long, but it does feel like a good 20 to maybe 30 minutes was cut out of this. Like, I think we should have spent like 10 to 15 more minutes on the planet, on that slave planet. I really do, just to flush out the main characters a little bit more. And I get we want to get to the action and stuff like that, but I didn't really, good, I wanted them to die. That's what I said. I wanted the alien to win, kill all these people. I don't care. Make me care about them. Like, I felt sorry for Dallas and Parker and Lambert and Drake and Vasquez, and I even felt sorry for the prisoners on Fury. They had character merit. So if I'm not feeling sorry for your characters, then that's a problem. Maybe make the scenes longer. But other than that, good things about it. Visually beautiful film. The xenomorphs, man, they're back, baby. Awesome. Awesome. The biomechanical metallic teeth, slimy Lovecraftian bugs from space, man, they're back. And they're back with a vengeance. So, in closure, go see Alien Romulus. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I'm sorry. We still have Alien and Aliens, and maybe that's all we need in this franchise. I, for one, hope that we get more. I would love to see Alien Awakening. I would love to see the conclusion of David's Ark and more engineers fighting cosmic bugs. And I'm excited for the Alien TV show. It seems like it's going to be more about Tawny rather than Wayland. So that'll be interesting to see. And there are strong rumors that Alien Isolation 2 is in the works, which would be awesome. And maybe that's not true. And probably just wishful thinking on my point. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed your time at the Lagoon, and I hope you enjoyed Alien Romulus. 8 out of 10. Go give it a check, and I hope to see you next week on my next review video. So stay tuned, and always stay salty, and above all, always remain spooky. Gill-boy out. In the meantime, let us go forth and build better worlds.